You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the Locked On Clippers Postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. You can also listen wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On podcast feed. Locked On Clippers podcast feed, that is. Of course, we are here to break down the Clippers. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. And he is Mark LeCaire. Second time on the program. We did a little, I think we did some baseball last year.
Big numbers on that show. Fantastic numbers.
Yes. They were actually surprisingly good considering you were at the barbecue and your phone was like, you were just moving your phone around and like you were talking, you know.
It's the quality, Pete. It's the quality of the words, not necessarily the picture attached.
Yeah, apparently you had something to offer because a lot of people watched. That was good. Mark and I have worked together for far too long and go way back. So Mark is a hoop head to be sure. More of a Kings fan. I don't know. Have you abandoned that yet since they got rid of Fox?
They break your heart, man. They just break your heart. I mean, the best player we've had in over 20 years. I mean, my son got 2 Fox jerseys for Christmas. Fortunately, Fanatics has got a great deal, though. When you order from them, your favorite player gets traded, they take the jersey back and swap it out for another one. So a little shout out.
Interesting. They are unfortunately not a sponsor of the program tonight, but hey, you know, that would be a good, they'd fit right in. That's for damn sure. Let's be honest though about him before we get to this Clipper game, which was fantastic. Nice win over the number 2 seed in the West. 128-114, far too comfortable, I think, for them. But let's be honest, Ja Morant didn't play, and that was a big factor. I thought it was interesting. Jim Jackson made a comment about runway flu, which is a term I had never heard before, but it is it's a cough you get right before the All-Star break, sitting on the runway, you know, because, hey, when this game is over, we're off on vacation for a week. But one comment about De'Aaron Fox. You were lucky to have him this long. The Lakers stepped in it by not picking him over what's his name? Ball.
Lonzo Ball.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you have him as long as you did.
Well, we discussed it at the time. You know, it's just interesting. I mean, I get the Wemby thing and the draw of San Antonio and wanting to play there, play with the, you know, a budding sensation, if you will. But there's something that just sticks in me. I'm like, dude, we're 2 games over 500. Doug Christie has turned this thing around, and your team is 6 under 500. So you can kiss it, Fox.
Yeah, I get the Wembanyama thing. He is the real deal. The Clippers have beaten them twice, but it was not easy, to be sure. Tonight, again, very easy. After the first quarter, they got it rolling, 128-114. The first quarter to me was like, oh, you start off 9-0, and then you just stop playing defense. You know, the defense was good in the beginning, but then they got lazy, and the Griz were moving the ball, and the Clippers were standing around, and I'm like, you can't lose a game against the Griz without Ja Morant on the floor. But they do have a good record, do the Griz, on the second night of a back-to-back this season. They're 7-1, now 7-2. So I was a little worried, but then the second quarter came around and they got it rolling. And then the third quarter happened and they dominated that quarter 36-21. So a really solid performance defensively, all in all, after the first quarter. And probably one of the better games for Kawhi Leonard this season thus far. And without a doubt, head and shoulders, the best game for Chris Dunn all season long, because he's a defensive guy. And, you know, you can never look at his point total, but tonight he was hitting threes, and that was exciting to see as well. And I love that Bogdanovich is finally on the floor, because I love shooters and he can fill it up.
Look, it was a great start, and then it wasn't. But the reality was Desmond Bane was chucking him in from Altadena. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even necessarily bad defense for the Clippers from the perimeter. He just decided, I won't miss this quarter, and then missed everything for the rest of the game. Right. I mean, it was starting to look like, okay, they're taking the ball to the basket. There's not a lot of rim protection. Zubac is a big, but he's not a threat to the rim. You know what I mean? Just not against the opposition. I mean, I'll use a sort of a different analogy, is that there's guys who hit home runs in a baseball lineup, and then there's home run hitters that affect the other ways guys get pitched to. And the reality is Zubats might block a shot here and there, but he's not a rim protector. He's not a threat to block shots. He may sneak up on you. So when the Clippers were defending the rim, it was coming from the help side or the weak side, and they were getting guys from behind in the first quarter. But basically, the Griz were chucking them up from everywhere. Everything was going in, and they had free range to the basket, and then the Clipper defense kicked in, and they just started turning over Memphis left and right. Defense to offense. It was spectacular. They had 17 steals tonight. That's ridiculous. I mean, they forced 22 turnovers that they turned into 41 points. That's the difference in the basketball game, pure and simple. They just got stops. They got live ball turnovers. It's one thing to turn you over, dead ball turnover, bad pass, goes out of bounds, whatever. Then you still get a chance to reset your defense. Clippers created live ball turnovers that they turned into offense every step of the way throughout the game.
Yeah, 5 of them for Kris Dunn. As I said, he is a guy that you have to look deep into the stat line to see what he did for the team on a nightly basis. And he, Clipper fans know that he comes out and plays with a ton of energy and, gets them going defensively. And when they are able to shut an opponent down, it's largely because Kris Dunn has had a good night defending the ball tonight. Again, 5 steals and 5 assists to go with 4 for 4 from beyond the arc for 14 points. So, that's a big night for him. He should be, popping corks or something there in the locker room, because he was like, I think Brian Seaman said he was 2 for 23 prior to that from beyond the arc. So, that's a good night for him. 5 of 6 from the floor, but Kawhi 9 of 19. I thought Kawhi's defense tonight was a lot better. And we talked about this on the phone off of the air, that at times Kawhi's defense, since he returned, has been a bit of a liability. And it's tough to say, it's tough to call out Kawhi Leonard for not being great on defense, but there have been times that I was like, he just doesn't seem to care. He's lazy and not closing out and not being the defender that we're used to seeing. So tonight I was happy to see that he was playing with energy and closing out on guys and, active hands and all that stuff. What was your read on him defensively?
It looked like he's finally getting his legs under him, and nobody apparently knows that more than Ben Simmons, the new recently acquired, player for the Clippers. Ben Simmons out tonight for conditioning. They literally listed him out for conditioning. That's like a porn star being out for a moral conundrum. This is your job. This is what you do. Are we going to film tonight? Miss Marquez? No. I'm out for chastity reasons. What are you talking about? You have conditioning is the name of being a professional athlete. But in fairness, I guess maybe some aspect of it was true for Kawhi Leonard, because he had his conditioning or his legs underneath him. And I think that's where you really see it, is on the defensive end, and he looked like he could stay in front of guys tonight.
For what it's worth, that's the same thing they said for Luka on his first couple of nights before he got on the floor with the Lakers.
They can't be like he's out because fat. So, I mean, whatever conditioning, I can't believe this is an excuse in this day and age. How soft are these guys now?
Yeah, they got to come up with something, without a doubt. By the way,
what was the old thing about the rock stars? It's like, he can't perform tonight. Dehydration. You're like, yeah, that's code for hung the heck over. Right. No, we understand. You did too many drugs and got drunk last night, and now you can't. No, you're dehydrated though.
My favorite baseball injury of all time. I think it was a Detroit Tigers pitcher, probably 10 to 15 years ago, missed the start because he said it wasn't the guy playing video games, because that one is right up there on the list. He said he had carpal tunnels from playing video games. This guy said he hurt his shoulder because when he was riding in a taxi cab, this was pre-Uber days, he was in a taxi cab and he had his arm up on the shoulder, like the headrest, just kind of resting his arm on the headrest of the chair next to him in the back of the taxi. And he said he had it up there so long that his shoulder got tight. I'm like, come on. You can't get injured in a taxi sitting in the back. That is the weakest sauce ever right there.
Okay, 2 things I want to say about that. I do private individual baseball lessons, and I throw constantly, way too many pitches. I come home, I relax with my wife, I put my arm around her. I'm starting to get the pinched nerve in the shoulder. So all of a sudden now maybe I actually have some a little.
Yeah, but you're old.
Yeah, okay.
That guy was 28.
Starters, yes, that is a sign of age. But then there's the other one. Everybody scoffed at Sammy Sosa throwing his back out for the sneeze. I guarantee you 80% of dudes our age have tweaked our back. I guarantee it. And that's how you know. It was like, oh, that wasn't BS. No, that actually is a thing.
That really happens. All right. We'll hit the first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the bench play, because the Griz have the best scoring bench in the league, and the Clippers bench tonight took care of business against them. So we'll get to that, and Norm Powell and Amir Coffey's performances, two guys that I really enjoy watching when they are playing like they did tonight. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. He's Mark LeCaire, Hoophead, and I am, that's your official term, Hoophead. Hope you don't mind that. Is that old fashioned? Is that a white guy trying to be cool? Is that what that is?
Signed off on none of this. This is something you projected onto me. Never forget that.
Okay. You can also listen wherever you find your podcast on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Stand there. Don't move. Don't stay there frozen. Yeah. Pretend like we're going to break. Okay. Here we go. Hold on. I got to find the thing. Okay. There it is. All right, tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast is brought to you by Wayfair. Wayfair is used very frequently in my household, and it was used right after the holidays as well. Now that the holiday hustle is over, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing your space helps you get into a routine for the new year. We didn't declutter. We redid the shower in our downstairs bathroom and needed a few pieces of furniture. Anytime you do a remodel like that, you got to get some new furniture. So I'm Mark could speak to this too. He's just moving into a new house, and I'm sure he'll be all over Wayfair buying new furniture, because anytime you move, you got to get new furniture. You just can't bring the old furniture along. You can bring some of it, but you always got to get new things here or there to refresh and tidy up and get things looking new for the new year. I'm currently looking for furniture for my little studio she shed out here that we call it. I need some shelves just to hang more, memorabilia on, more shelves for the bobblehead. So I'm sure I'll be checking out Wayfair for that. They have free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items, all the time. So make sure you check it out. That's a huge part of what makes Wayfair awesome. Free delivery. Their website and app are also very user-friendly. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style for every home. So you're all over Wayfair right now, aren't you? Getting new tchotchkes.
We got a bunch of new stuff, man. Everything's getting delivered straight to the new house. I'm loving life. I don't even have to move it. It's not even just going direct to seller.
Yeah, that's the best. You have a yard sale, or you use Facebook Marketplace to get rid of the stuff you have. People come and pick it up, and then you order the new stuff, and it goes straight to the new house. So you kind of don't have to move. It's all just showing up for you. That is a great way of setting up a new house for sure. Clippers win tonight, 128-114, taking care of the Griz.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I was like, I'm doing this show tonight for the exchange of you helping me move the rest of it. So just so
really?
Oh, yeah, indeed.
What signal's breaking up? Can't hear you there. Yeah. You don't have enough pizza and beer in the world for me to help you move.
All of those things. All of them, as it turns out.
Well, tonight the Clippers get the win. It was a nice performance, comforting. It was solid on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And when you know that the Griz are very good on the second night of back-to-backs, coming in 7-1, and they have the best scoring bench in the league. Tonight they had 15 from Gigi Jackson and 14 from Santi Aldama. That's 29 and 4. That's 33. And then another 11 is 44. So maybe I misspoke. I didn't do the math. 15, 24, and 34, and 37, and 5 is 42. So pretty close. All in all.
lot of numbers.
Yeah,
Certainly.
they're pretty close. At the end of the day, the Clippers hung with the best bench in the league, but a lot of that was because of Bogdan Bogdanovic, who makes his debut for the Clippers tonight. 18 minutes, 3 of 4, 1 3, 15 points. I just feel like, 7 points. I feel like he's going to fit in real nicely. As I said, I like shooters. I feel like that guy is a dude. Wasn't he a king at one point in time?
Yeah. He's really good. So they traded him because that's what we do.
That's what they do. I feel like he's a guy that when he's on the opposition, you're cursing his name. And so that's a nice piece to have on your team because he can come off the bench and fill it up because he's just a pure shooter. And I like him, and I'm glad he's a Clipper, and hopefully he'll help out. Amir Coffey is always good off the bench. Also played 18 minutes, 4 of 9, 0 of 2 from beyond the arc, which is rare for him. But he had 15 points.
Am I the only one that when Amir Coffey goes out there, I take one out of semi-pro and always just yell "Coffee Black" every single time? I mean, I can't.
You're not. You're right up there with Brian Seaman, who has every coffee pun on earth on his notepad there. And fortunately, he had one night where he went off for like 15 coffee puns. And I was like, please, you can't do this every time Amir Coffey has a big night.
The puns, I just take it back to the movie with Will Ferrell.
Sure.
I think Coffee Black, but you know what? The other one was under the radar tonight off the bench. Derek Jones gave him a huge lift in that first half with 9. I mean, he was 4 from the field, 9 points in the first half when the game was still very much in doubt. And the Clippers were down for a good chunk of that. And he was able to give them that lift and brought them back too. So they got bench contributions all across the board tonight, and it was a much needed boost. In addition to that, I mean, if you look at the final box score, the Grizzlies and the Clippers basically shot the same percentage from the field. They were both about 50%. The Grizzlies, actually, were 50% from 3, 18 for 36, and you get beat. How does that happen? Well, you don't get to the foul line. You turn the ball over in live action, and the Clippers are able to take advantage. But it wasn't like they didn't execute when they got shots up, but they turn the ball over a lot, and you just can't do that.
21 turnovers. That's Clipper-esque right there. So a nice night for the Clippers defensively in that department, again, with 17 steals. They only had 6 or 7 turnovers in the first half. So to finish with 15 is a little bit disappointing. But, they were cruising most of the time. They probably got a little bit lazy with the ball.
Well, they got sloppy.
That's something you can feel too bad about.
I saw about 5 times where they were trying to get greedy with outlet passes, where you're just chucking the ball down court to somebody literally underneath the basket at the baseline who then drops the ball out of bounds, which is a completely wasted effort. I mean, it's low risk, low reward. Even if you complete the pass, what's he going to do? Try to save it back into somebody else back into the front court behind the play? I mean, there was no reason to make those passes, but at the same time, if 5 of their 15 turnovers were exactly that, which they were, those are direct dead ball turnovers and don't really cost you a transition opportunity. You can reset the defense. It's a waste. You don't want them, but it's not live ball. The other team doesn't get an opportunity to go and find a run out, to find an open look on the perimeter and get that open 3 in transition or a layup and dunk opportunity. So if you're going to turn it over, make sure it's a dead ball turnover.
Yeah, and what you just described is what ails the Clippers quite frequently. They get themselves into that situation where they're on the other side of what they caused tonight. They give up those live ball turnovers and runouts, easy baskets for the opposition, and it's tough to recover from that. So it was nice to see the Clippers causing those turnovers tonight and getting, the steals and so forth, because even though it's funny, the Clippers have the best or second best defense in the league, but I feel like we sit here, every other night talking about the Clippers defense, letting them down, lazy to close out at the perimeter, et cetera, et cetera. So, they're capable of it. And hopefully when we get towards the end of the season, the games become a little bit more meaningful. Then we get into the playoffs. They'll play with that sort of intensity on a nightly basis. We know that they're capable of it. So, Kawhi Leonard, as you said, probably still trying to find his legs, trying to find the health. I have felt he's been up to speed for the last few games, but maybe I'm wrong. It's been known to happen. So I liked what I saw from him tonight, both offensively and defensively. Anytime he starts hitting that fade away from the block, that his spot, you're just like, look out, it's hard to stop him. His stat wasn't great. Was he 9 of 19? But not great. I mean, you like to have him around 50%. That's pretty close though. So
darn close, and he got more points than shots, attempted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's still on the right side of what you're trying to accomplish. And to your point, I mean, if he's hitting the fadeaways, what is that also an indicator of? The legs are coming back. He's able to get that initial push and elevation to create the opportunity to sink that shot.
The thing that I like about, there's two aspects of this team that when they're doing this one thing, it's going well for them. I think it always translates into a nice performance and usually a win. They can keep it up for the majority of the game. It's a good spot to be in, and that is penetrating the lane aggressively. Coffee was doing it. We haven't talked a lot about Norm Powell, and he's their leading scorer this season. He was doing it tonight. He had a couple of run-out dunks that were just flushes, authoritative hammers. And that is something. Norm's a shooter, but he's a dynamic player where he can penetrate the lane and get above the rim and throw it down aggressively. And he did that a few times tonight, and that was nice to see as well. So I feel like that is an aspect of their game that at times they go away from. They start playing ISO ball and they start letting James Harden or James Harden kind of takes over and starts doing his, I'm going to dribble between my legs, be fancy, and then draw foul. And you can't win games trying to draw fouls and
not draw a foul. You know what I mean? That's the other part of it too. Just flailing with wasted possession when you don't get the whistle. But, look, I mean, tonight they were plus 13 at the foul line. They won by 14 points. They all those leak outs and created 41 points off of turnovers. Well, these are causal relationships with the, ending score of the basketball game. I mean, that's it. That the outcome is directly correlated to exactly those types of things. They did not settle. They did in the first quarter. That's when everything flipped. They were up 9. They got down 11 in the first quarter. Why? They got stagnant on offense. They started playing ISO ball, everything you just described. And then they stopped settling for that. They started pushing the tempo. They got to the foul line. They put pressure on Memphis's defense and created opportunities for good looks from downtown as well, which they were able to knock down. So, all the things you want to see from a basketball team offensively to be successful and balanced, they got, and it was supplemented by defense creating offense.
Yeah, 90+% at the free throw line when Memphis was at 50%. That's another huge sore thumb for the Griz tonight.
Well, tired legs. I mean, it's crazy that they were 7-1 on the second out of back-to-back. So this is the NBA. That's a ridiculous stat that you can be that good. And I have to think too that that's also significantly impacted by the absence of John Morant tonight for the Griz.
Sure. Yeah, and runway flu, as Jim Jackson put it, because they're off for the All-Star break after this game. They're already in Cancun. So they're like smelling the barn in a big way. We'll get to the game charts from NBA.com after this. He's Mark LeCare. I'm Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. We appreciate you allowing us to be your source for your team every day. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast also brought to you by Open Phone. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, or sometimes you have multiple cell phones in your hand, which is always a nightmare. Before you know it, you're juggling customer calls a day and night, trying to get your personal calls in there as your team grows. It becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal phone number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designated to help you keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, that's the cost of a few coffees. You can get complete transparency, visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. Right now, Open Phone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off your first 6 months. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing number or numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. All right. The Clippers when the season started would have also been off tonight for the All-Star break, but they have one more tomorrow in Utah against the Jazz, a game that was canceled due to the Southern California fires. So that one could go any number of ways. The Jazz beat the Lakers tonight, who are also now off for the All-Star break. Jazz are not a very good team, but they play with a lot of heart and a lot of energy. So I would not be surprised if the Jazz came out and won that game tomorrow night, because the Clippers got a meaningful win tonight. Even though Ja Morant didn't play, it's still a win over the Griz. It's their 30th win of the season, which is also meaningful. They're now 19-10 at home and 9-2 with Kawhi on the floor. So everything looked good, felt good. Dynamic win. They did a lot of the things that you like to see from them. There wasn't one thing that kind of stood out and said, well, that was awful, but everything else was great. Like I said, the turnover number to me could have been a little better when you only had 6 in the first half, but you pointed out very accurately as to why a lot of those turnovers happened, and they were kind of meaningless, and they weren't a big problem. But to get a good performance from Kawhi, Zubats was 5 of 7 for 12 points, but then again, they weren't really feeding Zubats a lot. I feel like they do that. Tell me if you agree with this. When the Clippers get into a scoring drought, they can't hit threes. James Harden is cold, and Norm Powell can't find a rhythm. What they need to do, and they have done it at times, is find Zubats underneath, because he gets easy buckets. His shooting percentage is very, very high. Sometimes they keep throwing, balls into the ocean, and they're not hitting water. But I feel like they need to utilize him more when they're in a tough spot, when the shooting goes cold. Tonight, that was not the case. Again, they shot 50% from the floor, so they didn't need to find Zubats all that much. So, kind of a night off for him. But again, he had a double-double, 12 points, 13 rebounds, and a nice performance. So I would disagree with you a little bit, watching more Clipper games than you do. He's not an enforcer in the paint, but he is definitely able to body up big dudes down there when need be.
Tonight, he was awful. He was awful in the first half. I mean, you just read his number, 12 and 13. He got 10 points, 10 rebounds in the second half. He was bad in the first. And what is Zubats ultimately? He's like a slump buster. He's like bunting for a base hit to break up a slump.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's what Zubats is. It's just, you ever played on the Xbox or a PS4, something, you're playing basketball, you're playing NBA, whatever it is, 2K, and it's just like, I just want to kick it out and have some fun and dribble, drive, and shoot threes, and dang it, you know what? I better just dump it in and just score because it's been a minute. Like, that's what he is. He's that ultimate Mr. Reliable. And look, that's great. That's not even a knock. I was just merely commenting previously about his defensive acumen, or lack thereof, in terms of rim protection, because it doesn't exist. You can be big, you can body, you can accidentally get 12 or 13 rebounds a night because, I don't know, you're 7'3". You better get double-digit rebounds a night just by standing there. But he's not a threat to block shots. Or, you know what is even more than that? It's not even about blocking the shots. It's about your presence being acknowledged by the other team in an effort to alter shots. He ain't not altering any shots, period. He's not altering it because nobody respects his ability as a consistent shot blocker, rim protector on defense. So he might get one occasionally, but it's like he snuck up on you. He surprised you with it, but you're not altering that shot next time around. And there's a big difference between those two things. One, you could not block a shot all night, but if you alter 9 of them and come up with the rebound, that has a significant impact on the defensive side of the ball as a rim protector. Or you could block 2 shots and alter 0. And that is less impactful on that side of the ball. That is my critique, or criticism, if you will, for Zubac's defensive ability to protect the rim for the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason I'm assuming why, when they played San Antonio, that he's not the guy on Wembanyama. It's Norm Powell or Chris Dunn. And I was like, what's going on there? That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Wemby's blowing past him, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. I mean,
he's not your traditional big man either. So.
No, No, I don't know what it's going to be his league. I mean, we saw this with Giannis 8 years ago where you saw the writing on the wall. I mean, that's what we're seeing all over again, but maybe even a better version, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, look, I agree. Zubats is kind of like, a big tight end that never drops balls for a quarterback. And, he gets easy buckets when you need them. And tonight they didn't need them. I just wish at times when things aren't going well, they would find him more. And fortunately, he and James Harden have a good relationship, and Harden looks for him a lot. And, Harden had a big night tonight with the assists, with 10 assists, and a handful of those to Zubats. So he was looking for him like he always does. And that's nice to see. Some of the other guys at times don't, they'll just chuck up a bad look rather than moving the ball around and, passing effectively around the perimeter. That to me is something that's key to the Clippers' success that they have to do more of. I always want more passing. And tonight at times we saw a lot of it, but the majority of what got them this victory tonight, as you pointed out, was the steals and the points from steals and turnovers. And that's one of those situations where you come away from this game feeling, very proud of the performance they put up.
It was all energy and effort, period. I mean, that's what defense and transition basketball is all about. It's just about playing harder than Memphis did. And again, like you said, last day before their All-Star break run, Morant phones it in. He doesn't even want to be out there. You know what I mean? He takes the night off, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think the writing was on the wall for this one. But then they had to go and back it up because, again, Memphis didn't play bad. Their shooting percentage was off the chart tonight. You know what I mean? And they just got out efforted, and the Clippers took advantage of the second night of a back-to-back, a limited bench because of no Morant, and they just wanted it more. They created opportunities, got out and ran and made the most of them. So credit the Clippers, and we'll see how that goes tomorrow. I love that your biggest compliment for the Utah Jazz is they play hard. It's like what the broadcast did with Luke Kennard tonight when they were introducing him. Oh, former Clipper. He was a good guy. I'm like, wow, let me introduce you, Pete, to my wife's friend that I can set you up with. She's got a great personality. It's just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Well, I mean, what do you want? What else can you say about them? They don't have any stars. The guys that they do have that are good don't play all the time. What's that guy? Former Laker is on that team. He's like their best scorer. They're just not a very dynamic team. I always feel bad for fans of teams like that, that just constantly struggling year after year after year.
I can't relate at all.
They'll figure it out.
No idea what you're talking about. Can't relate at all.
Look, I mean, that when you watch that Utah Jazz team, you're like, they play hard. If they had a star, if they could find a young star that played defense, they would turn it around and they could win some games. And they're not the Washington Wizards. I mean, they're not a laughing stock. They're not the Detroit Pistons from last year who have turned it around and are playing good this year. So, the Jazz to me are not good, but at least they're not embarrassing because they play hard.
I mean, listen. I mean, if they could find, kind of a superstar type who's, leading the league in clutch points in the fourth quarter, who plays defense, who's, an all-star caliber player, and then traded him away to the San Antonio Spurs. Is that kind of like what you're talking about?
Yes, they need a De'Aaron Fox. Exactly.
It hurts deeply. It hurts deeply. Thank you for
here are the game charts. Points in the paint. Clippers won that category. As we sat here for the last 5 minutes and talked about not finding Zubats in the paint, but we did talk about Norm and Coffee, Norm Powell, Amir Coffee penetrating frequently tonight. Clippers 58-44 points in the paint. Second chance points of the Clippers 18-15. And that's pretty on par for them. And fast break tonight 27-19. So all three of those categories went in favor of the Clippers, which is also a good feeling and nice to see. 128-114 the final here as the Clippers get win number 30. They have one more tomorrow, a reschedule. They'll face the Jazz in Utah, and then they're off for a week I believe 7 days before they will play again. So that's when I will talk to you about Clippers again. I have previous engagements tomorrow night, and I would have Mark host the show by himself, but I'm not sure that we could figure out how to get that done on such short notice.
I have technological, shortcomings. That's for sure. I'm not sure if I could work out the,
technologically challenged. Yeah.
But that said, you don't have anything going on. You just lied. I mean, we all know.
No, I do. I have a high school girls playoff basketball game tomorrow night.
Well, in that case, do you hear that, Clipper fans? Do you hear that, Clipper Nation? This is
playoff game. Playoffs? It's a playoff game. CIF Southern Section playoff game. And I'm tired of the Jazz. I'll be honest. We just played the Jazz a week ago, and the Lakers have played them twice recently. I've had an A full of the Jazz. I'm done with the Jazz.
But they play so hard. How dare you?
Try to be polite. Okay. You want the truth? I'm tired of the Jazz. They're a bunch of nobodies. And Sexton, that's the guy. Sexton. I don't need to watch Sexton again. Tired of all of it. And the Clippers will probably phone it in and lose. And I don't want to come on here afterwards and talk about all the things they did wrong in a meaningless game that they all didn't care about because they're smelling the vacation barn. So
I guarantee Kawhi doesn't play tomorrow. I promise you.
Of course not.
Kawhi Leonard's playing tomorrow. No chance.
I mean, I don't think they'll do that thing they did, about 2 weeks ago where they sat all 6 starters or all 6 of their regular guys and started all the bench guys.
They might. Oh, they might.
They might.
There's a stronger
that was a good game. They ultimately lost, but they played hard and they came out. Those guys off the bench came out with a bunch of energy and gave, I don't remember who it was. They gave a much better team a run for their money. I remember who that damn game was against now, but that was one of the more fun games of late when they had all of those dudes resting. Who was that game against? Suns, maybe? No, it was the Bucks. Was it the Bucks? I think it was the Bucks. No, they beat the Bucks. Oh, it was the Celtics. It was the Celtics. Yeah, they lost to the Celtics by 4. And had they had a couple of starters in there like Norm Powell or James Harden, even one of them, they would have won that game.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and then they played the Wizards the next night. Why don't you rest everyone against the Wizards?
They were given like 16 and a half, 17 and a half points, man. I made a killing on that game. Thanks, Clips.
All right. Always a pleasure, buddy. He's Mark LeCaire. You can find him nowhere on social media.
Absolutely nowhere.
Nowhere. If you bump into him at the store, he'll talk your ear off, but that's it. That's all you get from him. And we get him here every now and then. So appreciate it. He's Mark LeCaire. I'm Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Enjoy the week off and enjoy the All-Star game. We will talk when it is all over. Take care. Have a